Hello!
We're back again. I got my cup with me today.
Do you know, talking about drinks and stuff like that, bit of an aside, I tried to experiment last night because I have my porridge and I soak it in oats the night before. I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to eat healthy, right?
You generally do eat healthy just because you've got a very bland diet anyway.
I put protein powder in last night just to see what it was like because I've seen a few people talk about it. So I put the milk in, porridge, protein powder and let it soak overnight and heated it up this morning. If anyone has any other ideas, it was horrendous.
Yeah, I think the problem you've done there is heat it up.
Oh, you can't have a cold, can you?
Well, yeah, you have overnight oats, don't you, and stuff like that. So that's the idea of that. I think, you don't like it cold, though?
I prefer not to.
Right, try it cold. Because Kath has overnight oats with protein in and fruit and stuff like that. They're superb, but they're cold. You leave it in the fridge overnight, and then I'm just not convinced protein powder does very well in the microwave. I know people do these like microwave cakes with it and stuff like that.
Can somebody come in with some nice healthy eating suggestions?
Just have a heel shake. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's lunch.
Okay. Yeah. You cut your porridge intake down, though, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, how many calories of porridge do you have for breakfast?
Oh Christ, I was probably doing. I never.
It's got to be 4 figures, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh, quite easily. Yeah, I'd say it was 1,200
for breakfast.
Yeah. Meal of the day, you know.
Well, they do say you should front load your day with breakfast and then
breaking the fast,
taper down in the evenings.
I hadn't eaten for the previous 4 hours that I was sleeping, so. Do you know what? It has relevance because I think. We were lucky enough to have a chat with Dan Stanley from Betterman last week, and about our new venture going forward, which we'll talk about again. But looking at certain stats, and I know we take the mickey out of healthy eating and stuff like that, but eating healthy, feeling healthy, both mental and physical, was interesting to chat to Dan about.
Yeah, because Dan's really into his stats, isn't he, with regards to kind of male kind of welfare, mental health, and things like that. And I think some of the things that came out of the conversation that we had the other day were actually quite alarming. I think is the word.
Yeah, and it puts, after we finish, it put everything into perspective in terms of how often do we wish our life away, and by that I mean, sometimes you wish for the day to end, and sometimes you wish that you get to the weekend and you can't wait until Easter, Christmas, whatever it may be. And when you put in the what figures did you do, the average life expectancy for a 40-year-old man was.
Well, the average life expectancy for a 40-year-old man, based on the ONS statistics, is 84 years of age. So if you're 40 today, if you're going to break that down to weeks, that's 2,288 weeks until you're 84. Left.
On an average. And that puts everything into perspective of, wishing our life away. And I understand that when you're at a younger age, because you haven't had that much life experience, you can't wait until you see a grandparent for a gift. You can't wait till Christmas or your birthday or summer holidays. I get that, but when you become an adult, time just it almost goes from being on a rocking horse to chariot, that you're flying and time is just so quick.
Oh, it does, and I always just take for granted when kind of you always look to people as older. We are those older people now, though.
I feel that way,
and you take for granted what people say, whether time flies when you get older and stuff like that. It literally does, because we were just chatting today when the first quarter's gone this year, and we're like partway through April now as well.
Yeah.
It does just fly.
And feeling unwell, unhappy, and potentially spend biggest killer I think in men in the UK at the moment is suicide. And how do people feel if they're not feeling well mentally and they're spending time maybe in bed and under the bed sheets or whatever it may be? It's just, though the numbers last week when we were just having a general discussion was just mind blowing.
I'm sure one of the statistics I saw was 4 out of 5 suicides in the UK are men.
Probably, yeah.
And yeah, and I think like there's another stat: there's 1 in 8 men suffer mental health problems. But I think, but we are too. I think men are terrible for this. We are too brave to talk about it, and we think that there's a lot of a stigma around men talking about mental health, and we had Matt Jones talking about it. We spoke with Dan Stanley about this before, and we also had Aaron on from Protectors who talks about this as well. And
Lee Evans
as well. Yeah. I think there's been a lot of kind of talk, and I think in a way we kind of take it for granted because there is this bravado thing with us as men. We're all bad for it.
Yeah.
We don't kind of like to open up about our feelings because it wasn't the manly thing to do. I think we're probably better than what we were at it, but the stats are alarming.
It's starting to change because there, one of the guys we had on before as well, Tej as well, didn't he say there was, at his dad's funeral, they you had to show a brave face, and I think those days probably are for the best gone. But as you said, the amount of people that still don't open up, and it is, I presume it is a macho thing of how much weight can you lift in the gym. It's still a vulnerability rather than an illness. It's easy to say, oh, I'm not good, I've got cancer. Oh, here you go. Rather than I'm not good, I've got issues, I just can't, work things out. And it's the vulnerability of that.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing with mental health is that it's not outwardly displayed, is it? It's not like you've got I just had an operation of varicose vein, didn't I? That's an outwardly, you can see that's a problem. But with mental health, it's something which is inside you, and it's down to that individual to open up and realise actually they do need some help and they are struggling. Like with cancer, things like that, round was always a relatively easy kind of diagnosis, and it kind of is what it is. But
the stigma isn't attached to it.
And
I'm a big believer in almost 3 pillars of health, of mental health, physical health, and financial health. And you might have all the money in the world, and you might have the best body in the world, but internally, if you're not well, that can have a crippling effect on you. And we've seen, with celebrities and this, that, and the other. So it's just as important, getting the whole package right. And that comes back to our day job of the financial planning, that if you know your numbers, it may, you can do or not do things. And if you don't need to potentially work longer, and you can feel happier on, let's say, on a golf course, I'm just using the basic stuff, then financially you may be fit, and physically you may be fit walking, and mentally you may be fit because you've stopped doing that job that maybe you didn't want to do, and you're happier out in the fresh air and with family and stuff. So they all have an interlinking effect on each other.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? And I think sometimes, and we're guilty of it, I know that, of you get stuck into the rat race and you just go from working day to working day to getting to the weekend and doing stuff, and we're not really thinking about actually being present and what you're kind of doing. And I think that's a big thing, and this does happen. I've seen it. I've seen it with clients and with family and stuff, whereby you work all your life and you come to this point of retirement, and then it kind of all ends, and you have these big plans for retirement, and then the worst thing happens, someone dies. And there are all these big plans when they probably could have actually done a bit of it younger in life as well. I think it's that balance of trying to live for the day, but also keeping that eye on the future as well. You can't just be gung-ho and I'm just going to go out and party and have fun and do all this stuff and travel everywhere in the world, because you've still got to kind of look after your family and yourself. But it's having that balance of saying, well, actually, what are the things I like to do, and still doing those things. Yeah.
You said earlier about getting through the day. It is almost a resigned fact of in X amount of hours I'll be able to catch up on my sleep or something like that. To a degree, it's wishing the term they use, wishing your life away, but it's trying to get through the day, and just fall asleep and get on with the next day. And as you say, if you've got 2,288 weeks or whatever left as a fortune, it's exactly that. You have to live for today, enjoy today, by keeping the eye on tomorrow. But I think it was just brought home by chatting to Dan last week, and I know we talk about it a lot of the time when we sit down with people and planning for the future, but it's a stark reality of life is very bloody short.
Yeah, exactly. And you just got. I think you just got to have some fun as well. Do you know what I mean? Luckily we enjoy what we do. So when we go to work each day, it's not like going to work. I wouldn't say it's that kind of. Do you know what I mean? Like some people I know, they go to their work, their job, and it's just something they just got to do for 8 hours a day, and it pays the bills. And we've talked about this before. If you are that type of person, sometimes you got to step back and think, well, am I doing the right thing for me? Because there are other things you can do, and there are other jobs. I know people say there isn't, but there is. Do you know what I mean? Like I made a career change when I was kind of in my kind of late 20s, and I actually made a huge career change. I went from a proper career in the police to being self-employed in financial services, and I planned what I was going to do, but that was because I wasn't happy where I was, and I couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life.
What I love to see is, and I've heard it recently with a few people, is you work out what you actually enjoy in life and enjoy doing, and then you go and find the job associated with that, and if there is none, become an entrepreneur and make that job, and then you're happy in that. But I suppose that overlaps then on your happy time and your work and all of that, and you probably have to distinguish them. But I have a friend back in Ireland and works in sport, both commentating and reporting and stuff like that, and journalism. And each time I chat to him, he goes, I should feel bad, shouldn't I? Because I feel like I have the best job in the world. I get paid to do what I love. And you kind of go, utopia.
Yeah, exactly. I remember speaking to one of our clients who landed a job, and he said it is 90% of the most ideal job he could ever have. Because you're never going to get 100%, do you?
Yeah.
But he said this is 90% of kind of like the best, greatest job I could ever do. And how good's that?
Even if you get the best job in the world, there's going to be crap attached to some part of it, and it might be for anyone else. Oh, that's the crap part. But if you have the best job in the world, there has to be. You can't love every part of it because there's going to be something. But
he knows that was going to come with challenges and so on and so forth. But what a great feeling that was going to be. And I know there's people out there who kind of struggling. I don't know what my calling is. I don't know what I want to be doing or what my job is and stuff like that. And you may never find out until you're in your late 40s, early 50s. But it'll come to you. You know what I mean? And that's what I come back to. And I've said this before. I don't have an issue with if you ever see a job CV whereby someone has tried lots of different jobs. Yeah. Now, if, for example, they're in recruitment and they're on their 12th recruitment firm, then that's a problem. They don't like recruitment. But if they've worked in McDonald's, then they've worked in Sainsbury's, then they've worked in a recruitment position, then they've worked in a law firm, they just realise that isn't for them. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some caveats to that. It might be that they just don't like anything they do. But I don't have a problem with people trying it out because it's too easy to get kind of pigeonholed and go, this is the career you're going to be doing and this is what you need to do for the rest of your life. So there's a lot to be said for that.
I think it comes down to, if you like what you do, you're going to enjoy, you feel happy. If you feel happy, you're probably going to maybe even eat better. It's going to make you feel even happier if you eat better. And overall, I think the overall endorphins for everything is more of a positive effect than a negative. So it all stems back, even though it's talking about stuff that we don't do every day, the mental health, we still have an input into getting people to have a think about what the future holds for them, working out numbers, not just telling them about products, working out numbers, what they want to do, when they want to do it, making them feel happy, and then removing whatever fear we have so they can basically enjoy the X amount of weeks, days, months and years that they have on this planet.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but yeah, I think it is that kind of balance now, like we just said, about living for today, but keeping an eye on tomorrow, you know what I mean? And not getting kind of bogged down in the day-to-day rat race and try and get out of it. And, like, go and see that friend you haven't seen for a while. I'm guilty of that.
Let's not talk about the stat. The stat is of a 122% increase in divorces during the last 2 years.
Yeah, I know that's a huge stat, isn't it? 122% rise in divorce since COVID. yeah, so but that's one for another day.
Yeah.